This week, Click dives into facial recognition and surveillance. Casinos are betting on it. The police are driving forward with it. But this man doesn't like it.
I've got a now £90 fine. There you go, look at that. Thanks lads, £90. Well done.
This face opens doors, you know. Well, actually it doesn't, but it does unlock my phone. And if you do the same with your phone, then you will know that facial recognition is already pretty good. I mean, it's certainly not perfect, but it's not hard to imagine a world where your face is the key to everything. Facial recognition technology is primarily being driven towards security and surveillance. Even pop star Taylor Swift secretly deployed the technology to root out stalkers at a recent concert. In China, authorities use it to name and shame citizens. Even for minor offences like jaywalking, faces are broadcast on billboards. In Beijing, the technology is even used to stop people from stealing rolls of paper from public toilets. And it's recently been revealed that the Chinese authorities are using the biometric technology to keep track of the movements of individuals from the persecuted Uyghur Muslim minority. It's a worrying example of how facial recognition can be abused to profile and track a minority group.
To detect, track and analyse people and objects in video.
The big tech players are also divided. Amazon has drawn criticism for selling its recognition software to law enforcement agencies in the US, with AI researchers from companies including Microsoft, Google and Facebook signing an open letter calling on it to stop, saying Amazon's algorithms have higher error rates for darker-skinned and female faces. Microsoft has recently rejected a California law enforcement agency's request to install facial recognition in officers' cars and body cameras due to human rights concerns.
And there's work that we've turned down. There are deals that we've turned down in some parts of the world where governments have wanted to license our technology, and we just were not comfortable that it would be deployed in a way that would protect people's human rights.
And Google has vowed not to supply facial recognition until it can come up with an appropriate policy. However, in the UK, police are pushing ahead with live facial recognition, deploying specially equipped vans to events such as London's annual Notting Hill Carnival and major football games.
I'm completely comfortable that the activity we are doing in the trials is lawful and appropriate.
But this has become a highly controversial issue, with civil liberties groups claiming that the technology is inaccurate, intrusive and infringes on an individual's right to privacy. For the last year, Jeff White has been following the UK police's deployment of facial recognition.
The front line in facial recognition. Police cameras in an East London street, everyone gets scanned. If you refuse, here's what can happen.
Don't cover my face, I cover my face. Don't push me over when I'm walking down the street.
This man didn't want to be caught by the police cameras, so he covered his face. Police stopped him, they photographed him anyway, an argument followed.
How would you like if you walk down the street and someone grabs you? Hold yourself down, you're going home. That's you. You would like it, would you? Would you mind your necking?
What's your suspicion?
The fact that he's walked past clearly marked
I would do the
facial
same.
thing and covered his face.
I would do the
Gives
same.
us grounds to stop
No,
him
it doesn't.
and verify.
The police said this was disorderly behaviour, so they gave him a fine.
The chap told me down the road, he said he got facial recognition. So I walked past like that. It's a cold day as well. As I've done that, the police officers asked me to come to him, so I've got me back up. I said to him, off, basically. I said, I don't want my face shown on anything. If I want to cover my face, I'll cover my face. It's not for them to tell me not to cover my face. I've got a now £90 fine. There you go, look at that. Thanks lads, £90. Well done.
He was caught up in the last of 10 trials carried out by the Metropolitan Police. The Met have had successes. There were 3 arrests from facial recognition on this test day alone. but the trials have proved controversial. Opponents claim they're taking place in a legal vacuum.
There is nothing in UK law that has the words facial recognition. There is no legal basis for the police to be using facial recognition. There are no legal limitations on how they can use it, no policy, no regulation. This is a free-for-all. We don't know who's on the watch lists. We didn't know how long the images were going to be stored for, and the police are kind of making up the rules as they go along. My ultimate fear is that we would have live facial recognition capabilities on our gargantuan CCTV network, which is about 6 million cameras in the UK. If that happens, the nature of life in this country would change. It would mean that everywhere we go we could be identified, tracked, that we would be leaving a location data trail, that your face could be searched and a detailed record of your movements gained.
The police argue that, in a time when every smartphone camera has facial recognition, why should they be left behind?
I believe, as does the Commissioner and the Management Board and the Met, believe not trialling such technology would be neglectful. Actually, we ought to explore all technology to see how it can keep people safer, how it can make policing more effective. However, we are completely aware of some of the concerns that are raised, and what we're doing with these trials is actually trying to understand those better so we can actually protect human rights but also keep people safe at the same time. We're reviewing all capabilities in terms of live facial recognition, and absolutely the technology is there for body-worn or smaller devices to be fitted with facial recognition technology, as is CCTV. So absolutely we will look at that, but again, the right safeguards and the right reviews and learning has to be put around that.
It's not just cameras on vans. Last summer, outside one of London's biggest shopping malls, police CCTV scanned thousands of shoppers, aimed, they say, at spotting known criminals.
People who are unlawfully at large may well be reoffending, and it's really clear that we need a tactic, another tactic, which is why we're deploying this technology now, to apprehend these individuals and to bring them to justice. That's what the people want, and that's what we're responding to. I want to be absolutely clear. The technology is very accurate and reliable. The human intervention side is the safeguard that we've got in place.
Despite the warning signs, many passers-by didn't know what was happening. When they found out, the reaction was mixed. Some thought it was an improvement on current policing methods.
It's better than stop and search.
That's a good point.
It will be better than stop and search. At least that will be indiscriminative. So.
Yeah.
It's a little bit creepy, I have to say. Wouldn't like to feel that I'm being watched all day long.
It's not just in London that the tech is being tested. South Wales Police have carried out more than a dozen trials, including at the Champions League final, using similar equipment to the Met.
After you, hop inside. Well, it's quite cosy, isn't it?
It is.
Let's have a look. Grab a seat.
So we've got two cameras located on the roof of the vehicle. One at the front, so that one at the back. Both 360 ability, so we can control them from within the vehicle, focus all around the vehicle.
When tested on a member of police staff, the system quickly spotted her face and matched it almost instantly to a file photo, even though the two were quite different.
Here heading into our headquarters, it's picked up, so it's come up with Juliet Gardner, it shows her name, and almost instantly it generates an alert.
Once checked, that alert can be relayed to an officer in the street, who can approach the suspect and verify the match. The system is incredibly sensitive.
The starting point is the eyes. The eyes are really important in terms of facial recognition technology. Often those eyes are visible with face coverings to include motorcycle helmets, so the technology does work with motorcycle helmets as well.
Using facial recognition isn't new for the police. What's changed is that systems like this one work in real time and across massive numbers.
The system acts as a big filter. It enables the officers to find that needle in a haystack. If you've got hundreds of thousands of people walking past the camera, it would be incredibly difficult with a human eye to spot one of the 700 that you're looking for. So it gives the officers an indication, so it could be that individual.
The system works by matching the camera footage to a database of file photos, and that's part of the controversy. So-called intelligence databases include people who've never been convicted, as does the Police National Database, which includes more than 10 million photos.
That database then could include people who
were found not guilty, and perfectly innocent people.
At the moment, they can have their image removed.
But only if they apply to.
Only if they apply to, but I think measures are afoot to automate that process.
South Wales Police and the Met have finished their trials now, but in the meantime, both forces are facing legal action from privacy campaigners over their use of facial recognition surveillance.
Do you see, one of my concerns, and I don't know how you feel about this.
London Assembly member Baroness Jenny Jones has strongly backed the legal challenge and has had personal experience of the issue.
The Police National Database has all sorts of people like me, and you do not have to have had committed a crime, not even be arrested, to be on that database. Now that suggests to me that it is an extremely flawed way of trying to keep track of people. And once your image and once that information is on there, you have to request that it should come off, which is what I did finally. But you have to know that it's on there. If you don't know it's on there, you can't get it removed because you can't make the request. And that means that there will be all sorts of false positives on the system. And so for me, this is a very foolish move. And what's even worse is that it's so inaccurate that on previous trials it's been 2% accurate. That means 98% inaccurate. So the police judgment at times is very poor. And I can sort of see why they think this might be a good thing to do, but actually it's disastrous. And the sooner they listen to people who are saying you've got to, if not stop completely, at least row back a bit, have a pause, and actually make sure that you're using it in the right way.
That was Baroness Jones finishing Jeff's report. And Jeff, facial recognition is really controversial, yet the police are still going ahead with it.
Yes, I mean, their argument is this isn't anything new. You know, police officers have always had the usual suspects in the back of their mind. They're looking out for them on the street. What's different here is the speed and the scale. So this is no longer about a police officer looking out for a few people than 100. This is cameras scanning hundreds of thousands of faces and comparing them instantly to databases of thousands of people. And that's what's got campaigners worried.
So you mentioned the usual suspects, which implies the police are only scanning previous suspects' images. But where do they get their facial data from?
Well, this is the other controversial bit. A lot of the police forces are using what's called the Police National Database. This is a stash of millions of images the police have accumulated over the years. There are controversies over how they've accumulated it and whether that database should still exist. And there's also controversies about who's on it. I mean, some of these are people who've been arrested but cleared of any offence.
Another problem we hear a lot about with artificial intelligence is the problem of bias in the training data, where a lot of AI is trained on white men, and so it's not as good at recognising the more diverse range of people that exist in the world. Are the police aware of any biases in the training data, and what are they doing about it?
Well, as part of this investigation, we've discovered that the police have on several occasions had golden opportunities to check how well this software, how well these systems deal with black and minority ethnic faces, and on each occasion they've failed to investigate that. Now, the problem there is there's already controversy around how police deal with those communities in terms of stop and search. If that rolls over into facial recognition, that's potentially another point of controversy brewing for the police in the future with this technology.
OK, Jeff, thanks. Stay there. More from Jeff in a few minutes.
Hello and welcome to the Week in Tech. It was the week that hackers stole $41 million worth of Bitcoin from major crypto exchange Binance. Uber drivers went on strike over working conditions on the eve of the company's stock market flotation. And Google revealed its Pixel 3a smartphone. The tech giant hopes the new low-cost device will increase the popularity of their Pixel brand. Ford are employing robots to deliver parts in a bid to free up its human employees to do more complex tasks. Survival uses light detection and LiDAR sensors to navigate the plant layout and modify its route if encountering obstacles. Jimi Hendrix, Pete Townsend and Kurt Cobain were all famous for smashing guitars. This would have spoilt their fun. An almost indestructible 3D printed lightweight guitar has been developed by Swedish engineering company Sandvik. And finally, the annual Met Gala in New York provided quite an array of outfits, including this, a dress with 37 3D printed petals. Created by designers Zach Posen and worn by model Jordan Dunn, it took over 1,000 hours to create, so it's not beating the race against the sewing machine anytime soon.
Now, it's not just the police who are deploying facial recognition technology. Increasingly, private companies are starting to offer and buy services too. But the data that's being collected and the places where the technology is being deployed is starting to raise eyebrows. Back to Jeff White.
At this giant Manchester mall in 2018, an estimated 15 million people were scanned over 6 months. A facial recognition trial that led to just one positive identification. The Trafford Centre scheme was halted after the UK's CCTV Commissioner raised multiple legal concerns. Other businesses, though, are pushing ahead. FaceWatch's customers include the British supermarket chain Southern Co-op. Their aspiration is to build up one of the UK's largest databases of facial images of alleged criminals. The company started in a London bar. Gordon's claims to be London's oldest wine bar. It's more than 100 years old, but inside here is some cutting-edge facial recognition technology, and the company that's supplying it has some big ideas for where this stuff's going to go next. So this is the main camera to the bar, so everybody who comes into the bar comes through this entrance, and that's where
Correct.
you're hoping to
Yeah.
catch them.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here he
Okay,
comes.
somebody's
Comes
coming
in, he looks around the bar, see where he wants to go.
Right. Let's
It
go
clicks
there.
the monitor, so
Right.
it says you've seen his face
Oh,
and
and
triggers
there
an
he is.
alert.
Right.
And that's the guy.
The other thing though about this is you're a private company, this is a private business, your businesses that you're working with, they're all private businesses.
Correct.
Isn't the proper way to do this through the police? Shouldn't the police be getting these indications, and why doesn't that work?
Yeah, and we've got the opportunity to work with the police. We're in the process of working towards signing an information sharing agreement, and hopefully the police will significantly contribute towards giving us their watch list of low-level criminals.
Here's how it works. Businesses who use FaceWatch's system upload images of people they suspect of wrongdoing. FaceWatch then stores those images and shares them among its customers. The company's facial recognition software then automatically spots those people when they walk in, but that includes potentially innocent people. They've not been convicted, have they, these people?
Not necessarily, but the business has to have evidence. Part of the information and sharing agreement that we have with businesses, they have to have evidence for capturing and uploading that information onto our system.
The database of people you've got, you're not making that public. I can't scroll through your database of images and see if I'm on there, or, for example, can I?
No.
It's a private database.
It's a private database, but essentially you or any member of the public can do a subject access request to FaceWatch, and we'll tell you whether you're on the system or not.
But if I don't know I'm on the database, how can I appeal against the fact that I'm on the database? You see what I mean? So.
Well, I think you'd only likely to appeal if you had a cause for concern. And so far on all our trials where we openly display facial recognition deployed on this site, and there's probably evidence of cameras in this case because they're in the entrance to most doorways, so it's quite unique. We've not had one subject access request to date.
FaceWatch says its images are deleted automatically after 2 years. It also says it's talking to the police with a view to sharing databases of suspects. And it's not just pubs and shops. Facial recognition is now being used to protect some very high-stakes businesses. You'd expect a busy London casino to have a lot of CCTV, but the one at the top of this escalator is a bit different. It has facial recognition software installed. It's going to scan my face, match it against the database, and see whether I'm somebody who should get a warm welcome or somebody who should be chucked out. The casino scans everyone who comes in to see if they're on its watch list.
We have a database of about 3,000 customers, and these are customers that are generated from images both internally, from customers that we've identified as having a problem with gambling or gambling-related issue, and also customers that have declared that they may have a problem in relation to gambling. We've also taken a number of those images from an external database, which is called Sense, and this is a database for people who wish to voluntarily enrol and exclude themselves from all casinos across the UK.
The future for facial recognition tech isn't just cameras in ceilings, cameras on vans, it's mobile, and specifically things like this. This is a body-worn video camera. Sits on a police uniform about here, and that is the ideal height for facial recognition technology to work. It's certainly a game changer in terms of the scale of facial recognition surveillance on our streets. One British firm pushing ahead with this kind of mobile facial recognition is Digital Barriers. All they need is a few photos of you from the internet to make their technology work. So Richard here from Digital Barriers has got the same software running on that phone as runs on the body-worn video cameras. The phone's never seen me before, but we've given Richard some pictures of me from the internet, and we're going to see how the phone can recognise me from those pictures. It can also track when and where a match is made, meaning that with several cameras, people can be tracked as they move around. This can turn your data trail into a map of streets that the system thinks you've walked down. For the company behind them, these devices are a step change.
The second generation of body-worn devices that we'll start to see now will be live. They will have the ability to stream video live from the devices in real time back to control rooms, to other officers, and also to run live facial recognition as well. And so we're about to see a new generation of digital policing enabled by these kinds of devices.
With the advent of artificial intelligence, such systems will be able to compare their footage against databases of tens of thousands of images instantly. That gets you into dangerous civil liberties territory, doesn't it? More people on the watch list, the more people you're comparing it with, means the more people potentially who are affected by this.
If we take the example of a city like London, which has, as most major cities do now, a counter-terrorism challenge, clearly the prioritisation to somebody who might be on that kind of watch list is very different to somebody that might be on an outstanding local warrant. And the civil liberties, again, need to be handled in a different way. There's a different level of proportionality. My own personal nervousness is where it extends into the more commercial and the less completely unregulated use of the technology. The idea that a commercial organisation can start to build a database and can put that out into the world and start to look for people with no real controls in terms of how that watch list has been built, I think it is very serious and does carry implications, particularly as the technology becomes cheaper and more available for people to buy.
So, Jeff, earlier we said that Microsoft had refused to put facial recognition into body cams, and yet here you are saying there are other companies doing it anyway. So is this just inevitable? Is this the future of surveillance and facial recognition?
I mean, body cameras have a huge advantage, which is they're exactly the right height and position for facial recognition. We have a lot of CCTV cameras in the UK. They're up high, they cover a wide angle, they're not ideal for facial recognition. Body cameras are, they're also mobile. And this technology, by the way, doesn't just have to be in a body camera, it can also be in a mobile phone. The software can be put into lots of different technologies. So yes, this is the direction of travel. It's going mobile.
We're talking here about private companies using public data. Please tell me that someone somewhere is regulating this.
The tragic news is not at the moment. There is, as you heard, no UK law for facial recognition. It doesn't even crop up in any legislation. And also, facial recognition falls into a lot of people's different remits. So there's a bit about surveillance, there's a bit about biometrics, fingerprints, etc. And there's a bit, obviously a large part, about personal data, and that's the Information Commissioner's office. All these people are looking into it, and there probably will be legislation, or at least guidelines and regulations being put out more in the future. But the danger is, of course, by the time they come out, the technology will have sped up and moved far ahead.
It'll be too late.
The interesting thing about facial recognition is a lot of people think it's just about the cameras, it's just about recognising the face. What they miss is behind it is the massive personal data thing. The whole point of getting these pictures is so I can find out information about you, your criminal record, your driving record, your shopping habits, all of this information. So it's the data behind it that's the real issue.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for those brilliant reports. And if you have any views on this subject, which I'm sure you will, why not get in touch with us on Facebook or on Twitter at BBC Click. That's it for this week, though. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.